You are not alone. I wanted to make this video for anyone who feels like they a failure or that they aren't good enough. And I want to tell you a story. It was already 3 years ago that I was in your exact position. I also felt like a failure. I felt like nothing was working. I wasn't doing anything useful. I was an absolute utter failure, completely, 3 years ago. And I didn't know what I was going to do. I was still busy in school, running around like a blue-ass fly. I didn't know what I was going to do with my life. I was barely passing school, doing terribly, and I didn't know what I was going to do. I felt like an absolute failure. Everything I tried didn't work. I tried to sell online. The business made a bit of money, but then went right down. I tried to sell secondhand stuff. That didn't work. I tried to go and sell scones on the side of the road. No matter what I tried, it all failed. Nothing ever worked. This is already 3 years ago. And so all I started to do was just to start training a little bit more. I went for a run every single day. And this was already for an entire year. I just ran every day. I didn't know what I was doing with my life. I didn't know how to earn money. I didn't know what to do. And I felt like an absolute utter failure. But I kept on going. And I actually learned something interesting. I just kept on training every day. Maybe I didn't make money. But it was just doing something. It was doing something that was tangible. So if you feel like you're a failure, maybe it's because you tried different things and it didn't work. Maybe you tried to get a 4.0 GPA in the 11th grade or in the 12th grade and you weren't able to achieve amazing marks. Maybe. Maybe you wanted to earn $1,000 before the end of the month and the month came around and you didn't. Whatever you did that you didn't achieve, perhaps, that's making you feel like a failure, know that your story isn't over. There's always more you can do. Once I was feeling like a failure and those 3 businesses didn't work, the answer wasn't just to give up and stop. The answer was to take the axe and go back to the massive log and keep on axing away. Now, I'm not saying that if you feel like a failure, you should just do the same thing over and over. For example, going to a job and working every day and axing away at that, trying to get rich. I don't think that's a good idea. But when it comes to trying to find a meaning and a purpose to your life, maybe that's the way. Keep on, just like an axe on log, going and going and going and going and never giving up and keeping on going. I read a book by a man. His name is Viktor Frankl, and he wrote a book called Man's Search for Meaning. And in that book, he talks about how man has a will to meaning. Now, there are a couple of philosophies. There's the Adlerian philosophy. There's the basically different psychological schools of thought. There's a psychological school of thought that says it's the will to power. Man's purpose in life is the will to power. The other one is the will to basically sex, the will to sex. And then the third one is the will to meaning, which is what Viktor Frankl talks about. And he says that he was talking about the Holocaust. And there were many Jews inside the concentration camps. And some of them decided to walk up to the electric fence and touch it to kill themselves because it was such a painful existence. But he said some people didn't give up. And it was because they had found a meaning to their lives that they kept on going and they actually survived the Holocaust. Yes, unfortunately, we remember the 6 million that were lost, which is just terrible. But there were some who managed to survive just because they had a meaning in life. For Viktor Frankl, he had a manuscript that got lost or that got taken and stolen from him by the guards. And for him, his meaning to life was to get that manuscript back and actually create his logotherapy, create his work again, recreate it. So maybe if you guys are feeling like a failure, what you can do is try and find a meaning to your life. Say, my purpose in life is to get as strong as possible, or I want to learn how to be the best waiter or waitress that I can be. It doesn't matter what it is. It can be as small as you want or as big as you want. It can be running for president, or it could be how can I be a street sweeper but sweep it in the best way, or how can I serve customers at the restaurant in the best way possible. There's another thing that is very interesting. When I was watching online content and going on social media and TikTok video or the YouTube Shorts version a lot and every single day and endlessly for hours, I started feeling this depressed mood or feeling sad. Like I didn't want to achieve anything. I didn't feel driven to do anything or even to make these kind of videos. And I seriously came to a point just like where you are, where I started to contemplate my life. I thought, what am I doing with my life? Nothing's working. I don't have any drive. And I understand that further on down that path, people really get to a very deep, dark place. And if you feel like a failure, maybe it's because your dopamine receptors have just been shot by all the social media content, which is optimized, especially in the short form, to optimized to decrease your attention span and release as much dopamine as possible. And maybe that's kind of like blowing out your brains. So if I would say one thing that helped me to feel that feeling of progress, it was definitely to at least, if you don't want to stop it, or if you really can't stop it, or you struggle to, at least reduce it. Reduce your social media use. For example, say I'm only going to watch a 10-minute video, and whatever video I click on, I'm going to watch the whole thing. So now your attention span is going to start to be increased. For example, let's say there's a cigarette smoker. Instead of telling him go cold turkey and stop smoking cigarettes, we say, fine, at the end goal is to stop smoking cigarettes, but we're going to wean you off. We're going to go from a pack a day to half a pack to 4 cigarettes to 2 cigarettes to 1, and then 1 and 1, and then you're going to stop. So that's a way that you can slowly but surely fix your dopamine receptors and fix your brain that's actually been attacked by these social media companies. That's the first thing that I would recommend, because when I did that, and when I've at least reduced my social media usage, my life's always gotten better, and I've always felt that I've always gained more clarity. And if you're feeling like a failure, there's a second thing that you can do. What I've done when I felt like a failure was always, and even now, find something. Like now, I'm feeling like a failure. That's why I'm making this video. Let me be honest with you. I feel like this YouTube channel is not working. I'm not getting the views that I want. It's not going to materialize. None of my businesses that I've tried are working. I feel stuck and I feel lost. But the first thing that I do whenever I get into this space, and what you can do, is find something that will give you that feeling of making progress. And not fake progress, real progress. For example, I watched a few videos on how to tell a better story. So I learned a few things, like start from the beginning and get to the end, or how to captivate people's attention so I can share an idea better. So that's something that I learned, and I'm putting that into plan and action. And making this video is something tangible that I can do when I feel like a failure. Then I'm going to come over here, and there's some weights. That's something else you can do if you feel like a failure. As I said, the most important thing is to do something where you feel like you're making that progress. It could be meeting a friend for a coffee and rekindling an old friendship. That's something that is basically going to help you feel like you're making progress. I used to have a really good friend named Benji, and whenever I was feeling down and out, what I would do is message Benji. It was my last resort. Oh, I didn't do well in the test. Message Benji. Oh, my parents are having a fight. Message Benji. Oh, I don't have any money. Let me message Benji. And oftentimes we would go out for a meal. We would go out for pizza. We'd have a little, like a bit of a cold drink together, and together we would really enjoy. And that would set both of our brains right, so we would have more unbridled energy, or unkindled energy, if that makes sense, for us to go into the next day. And doing something that makes you feel like you're getting progress and moving forward is so crucial. That weight story, lifting weights or going for a run or doing something, doesn't matter what you do, it just so matters that you do something. And rather than consuming, you might be able to produce and help someone. And behind me, which has been the background for this beautiful video, are all these books. You could pick a book and read it. It's at least doing something that's more productive, and by the end of it, you feel like you've accomplished something. Maybe you can even go walk in the road. What I've done when I've been really, really bored with no computers and nothing to do, no money to make, is I just go walk in the road. I either go for a run, or if I have a little bit of money, I'll take an Uber or Bolt, depending on where you are. You understand, I can get an online taxi, and I go to an industrial area, or I go somewhere interesting, because that's how I feel like I'm progressing. I meet people, I say hello, go to a shopping center. So if you feel like a failure, that's what you can do.